Okay, people, so let us take a look at Before Nikkah. Wait, hold on. Did I just say that right? Before. Yeah, I feel that's how you say it? Before Nikkah? No, I think so. I think that is the pronounce. I butcher things so much, people. But god damn it. I'm gonna say Before Nikkah. Right? So this is the new film from Haider Zafar, written by echo chamber favorite Marcus Flemmings. The film is produced by Marcus and Haider. Gabby Ambler took care of the music. Haider also handles cinematography. Right? William Long edits the piece. Andrew Davies is down with the casting. Production design is from Catherine Zafir. Catherine also does costume design. Hair and makeup, we have Sarah Coulthard. Who else? Visual effects were handled by Mukul Nal. And our cast. So, Sara is played by Sasha Vadher. Is played by Aakash Shukal. We've got Riz, played by Aziz Kemal. Hannah, played by Salian. And Izzy's aunt, grandma, is played by Kanchan Raval. The gist of the film is Sara and Isaam are fated to meet in advance of a possible marriage they don't want and end up having to spend the day together to kill time. So that is the whole gist of the film, right? Now, I didn't know this, but Nikkah is a hold on, I've got the actual definition here. So in Islam, Nikkah refers to a marriage contract and ceremony. It's the central religious ceremony where the couple officially consents to marry, usually led by an imam, and involves signing a contract outlining their agreements. While it's a valid marriage ceremony within Islam, it's not recognised as legally binding in the UK unless a separate civil marriage is conducted. But yeah, that's part of the title, which interesting, right? Now, as mentioned, Marcus, man, we've spoken to Marcus on the pod many a time, right? Covered Blonde Purple. Excellent film, people. Go watch that if you haven't already. So, it's always an interesting one when you're looking at things your friends do. You know what I mean? And me and Marcus, we talked about Richard Linklater's Before trilogy so many times, right? So finding out that, he's written this film that is kind of inspired by, right? You're like, oh, okay, I want to see it, but how is it gonna be? Like Haider has worked with Marcus many times. He was a cinematographer on Blonde Purple and all of Marcus's other films. So they've got a chemistry together. Right, now, this film, right, it's different because we've got a Pakistani couple, you know, and so we have a lead into the film. You've got Sara with her roommate Hannah, and we've got Iz with his grandma, and you know, they're both, you know, it's the lead up to the meeting. So we have all of this, and then they meet at London Euston train station, and we see them navigate this day. Now, you know, I think in other places it's definitely what's the word? People are making those comparisons with, you know, Before Sunrise. I think it is. Sorry, people. I think it's distinctly different, right? And I love that. I love that it was different and didn't necessarily try to follow verbatim the beats of that film. This was its own animal, right? We have you know, Seren is me, and I think when you look at Before Sunrise, right, their initial meeting on the train, right, it's he's come to kind of help her out, and yeah, there's a kind of a chemistry, a vibe straight away between them here. There's not necessarily a vibe straight away, you know, and you feel that, right? You feel that between the actors. You feel that in the writing, the way they're communicating with each other. And it makes sense, you know what I mean? But as the film goes on, you do notice barriers breaking down, right? And the other thing is, when you know what I mean, when you don't know someone, there is that uncomfortability about it oftentimes, right? And even if you get into the flow of conversation, there are times when, you know what I mean, because you don't know that person, you might touch on a subject that's very sensitive to them. You might crack a joke, but oh, that's not necessarily their sense of humor, right? There's gonna be those peaks and troughs, you know? And I think in a lot of films, like we have a couple and they meet, right? And once it's kind of as if, because, you know, we always have that thing where they hate each other and then they meet later and now they're best friends, you know what I mean? Like, we do that foolishness. But yeah, once they've established that, oh, we might like each other kind of thing, everything kind of goes without missteps. So watching something that feels like more realistic, you know, that is always a good thing. That is always refreshing, you know? And I think it's especially interesting when you're seeing different people. You know what I mean? It's not just the norm, right? We've got a Pakistani couple on screen. So it's different. And that's great. You know, different references, different things, but it's all the same. You know what I mean? Because it's them talking, forging connections, right? Whether it's talking about film, whether it's talking about dance, you know? It's all things people can relate to. And also, like the things that they're talking about, right? Like at the start, it's that, so, you know, oh, what do you do? Right? What's your favorite guy? Like, it's those questions that are just like, ah, man, this is an interview, right? So we see that those questions aren't the ins to break down barriers for either of them. You know, they're getting over this, do we want to be here? Like, what's the intentions of this person? You know? So all of that is very palpable. You very much sense it. And that's great. I love that. I also really enjoyed the fact that, because, you know, like the Before trilogy, this film is very much on the shoulders of our two lead actors. You know, if they drop the ball, if they do not sell us on these different scenarios, then this film falls apart, right? It can have the best script, the best cinematography, the best direction, but without solid performances, we have no film. You know what I mean? So it's, man, it's really great that both of our leads, right? Both Sasha and Aakash really make you believe in Sara and Is. You know? Like, the flows of the conversation are great, because how many times are you talking to someone and you start something, but then it just veers somewhere else, right? So that initial thread is just left hanging, right? And sometimes you come back to it, other times it's just there, right? Now, you may call back to it later on, sometimes you do not, but it's all there, right? It's all there, which really helps in the believability of it. You know, like, yeah, some of these, you know, talking about foreign films, you know what I mean? Like, some people like subtitles, talking about, right, like time travel, you know, these different things. It's all helping bring this to life, right? Just, there's a bit when Sarah's like, you know, she kind of is like, films, makes it seem to Is that films aren't her thing, but then later on she's talking about, you know, some different films that she's seen, right? And it just shows it's like the assumptions that we make, because like in her initial statement, like earlier in the film, she doesn't actually say she hates films, she doesn't like watching films, right? But it's an assumption that Is makes. And I think having those kind of things in here also, right, help resonate the human condition to you as a viewer. You know, you don't want to watch something where these people seem so perfect, right? That there's no flaws, that the conversation is this perfectly flowing machine. You want to see these bumps in the road, these hiccups, these missteps. And that's what they show you, right? But then, as I said, as the film goes on, we do have these moments where you kind of think they are not necessarily, right? Not necessarily falling in love, not necessarily, you know what I mean, becoming one, right? But they are becoming looser around each other, right? More comfortable. And I think that, right, being able to pull that subtlety, right, that nuance off, that's very skillful, right? And we do see that, right? Like in the cinema, which I don't know where that fucking cinema is, right? I'm watching this film and you're, you know, anytime you see something in London or like, you know, in places that you know and you're in frequently, it's, you're always kind of going, okay, what's the route here, right? I'm trying to figure out how, the route they're taking and some of the places there are. In some places you're like, yeah, know that, done that, boom, boom. I do not know where that fucking cinema is, man. You know what I mean? But anyway, tangent. But yeah, the scene in the cinema is great. You know, I think that worked really well. And it also, I think, felt very, natural. I hated the end of this film, right? I hated the end of this film. And when I say I hated the end of the film, man, I enjoyed the fuck out of the end of the film. But it was just like, God damn it, motherfuckers. You're doing this to me. You know what I mean? You are doing this to me. Really? Because I feel the film ends in a way that definitely wants you wanting more. You know what I mean? Like, you want to know where these characters might go next, right? What's in store for everyone? You really, I mean, there's so many possibilities, So that's great. But it's not a given. Now, I will say there is something to facial expression. Like, facial expressions are key throughout this film, right? I think they're a big part because it really tells you a lot about the emotional impact for these characters. So there is something in the end, but yeah, I don't know, right? It's still, you know what I mean? It could do anything. And I love the fact that sprinkled throughout the film are these different elements, right? Like, they're not always together. There are these other things, these other past happenings that are influencing what we see, what these characters do. Which really, and that's why I say, it sets this film apart from Before Sunrise. And that is fantastic. People, man, it's very different to, Marcus's writing in Blonde Purple and his other films. But it's very much Flemmings, right? Very much Flemmings. Like, Haider does a great job, like, bringing us into, this moment in time. Our actors are fantastic. I definitely would recommend you checking out Before Nikkah. We've got links on the website for you to be able to find out. It's on all your favorite platforms. So people, bring this into your life because it's charming as fuck, right? Before Nikkah.